Well, yes, cameras in the court don't happen very often. But you're maintaining, and you've maintained all along, that you did not commit this murder.
Right.
And why do you think you were convicted? What elements do you believe were in play that led to your conviction and the fact that you're sitting here at Dannemora?
I believe when they said I confessed to the crime, and I didn't. They took me down to the Albany South Police Station, where there was no video cameras, nothing like that, and they continued what they did the day before, which was they were telling me that Tim Gray was accusing me of starting a fight with him. A fight. To me, a fight is two people squaring off against each other, throwing fists. And the day before I gave him my DNA, I let him go through my car. Things that a guilty person normally would not think of even doing without them having a warrant or some sort of thing. And I agreed to take a polygraph test because it was, as they said, it just would further prove what I was saying was true. So I agreed to that, and they got me down there. And I stopped taking the polygraph test. I terminated it because I didn't like the polygraph examiner in the way he was going with the questions, and he was calling me a liar on certain things. And I stopped it, and they came into the room next, and they started, saying, accusing me again of this thing. And, I told them I didn't want a lawyer. I said it, 5, 6 times. I was yelling it at them. Nobody was there to corroborate what I'm saying. They're obviously not going to admit that because they were off the hook.
You said you didn't want a lawyer at that time.
No, I said I did want a lawyer.
You said you did want a lawyer.
I did want a lawyer. But there was no independent eyewitness there to corroborate what I said. So it's my word against theirs. And as we know, most people believe what the police say, regardless of their integrity or anything else, just because they wear a badge and everything. And they took me into the adjoining room. Again, there was no videotape, there was no audio tape. They even took my cell phone prior to me even taking the polygraph test. I couldn't, if I wanted a lawyer, I couldn't call a lawyer on my own. They took my cell phone, so I couldn't do that. And they basically keep reiterating, you're saying you started a fight. They're telling me that he was abusing my ex-girlfriend. Now, I knew that he had hit her in the past, and I knew that he had, verbally abused her. And there was incidents where she called me crying because he had done that. And so I knew this was it, and I wasn't being able to let go. So they said, it's a fight, just say you did it, you can go home. And so we started writing out this statement together, and basically they're saying, well, what'd you do? And I say, well, I don't know what would happen. And basically I start writing out the statement, and then eventually got to, and then I stopped it afterwards. Now if you look at the statement and you read through it, where the first initials are, most people would say this, knowing what happened, knowing the crime scene, knowing stuff like that, you'd say this, and the injuries to Mr. Gray, it was obvious that was not what happened to him. And then they kept asking afterwards, they kept going further about, well, what were you wearing, what would you be wearing, this and that, and I just made stuff up as I went, stuff I had in my house. In fact, all the things in the statement were visible in my bedroom the next day when they searched my house after I was arrested.
They asked you what you were wearing during the time of the crime, and you made things up. Right, stuff I wore, just like what would I like what would you be wearing normally, like at night, like why did you say these things? Why did you cooperate if you did not participate in the crime?
Because they weren't going to let me go. I was stuck in there, and I had no way out, like that. It's not like you see, everybody thinks, oh, you can just get up, walk out, you're gone. They had me down there. They took me down. I was down in the middle of Albany, where I didn't even know the area, that part of Albany, and I didn't have my car, I didn't have a phone, I had nothing, basically. You know, I mean, if I could have done that, I would have been roaming around the streets of Albany looking for a payphone or something, just so I could get back to my car, which was at SUNY, and stuff like that. And to put on top of that, there's 2 detectives sitting in my way, blocking the door even if I could go out. Don't have my phone with me. And we're in a police station where there's a whole bunch of other police officers, and, you know, I don't think they're going to just stand idle and have somebody just roam out of there. Well, they were brought with other police
Were
officers.
you yelling and screaming at them, listen, I'm not guilty here, you know, don't do this to me? What were you saying to them?
I wasn't saying, I mean, I had done that the day before in interrogation. I mean, it's on tape. All the tape isn't there because they...
What's on tape? What did you say? What did you do?
Well, they interrogated, through the interrogation, at one point I counted, based on the transcripts, they accused me of, just made accusations of like stalking in the area and starting a fight, stuff like that. They accused me 60 to 70 times, and every time I denied it. It was a fruitless effort to sit there and deny and just keep doing it, because they just keep same thing over and over again.
But they let you go home at that point?
After the first day, yes.
First interview?
Yes. They were also on videotape. They were basically, there was a check on them, you know, checks and balances. There was a check on them. When I was down at the Albany police station, there was nothing. There was no recording, so it's their word against mine.
Right. You were convicted of using a tomahawk, a wooden tomahawk, to kill Tim Gray.
Right.
They found the tomahawk in your house, right?
It was in the shed.
That's the tomahawk they say you did this crime with.
Well, they say there was a duplicate. I don't know if you've seen it, pictures of it, even seen the actual thing.
Do you have pictures of it too?
We have pictures.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a thing. It was like a souvenir. Something you go up to Lake George, places up there, you know, they have wood craft, stuff like that. Thing weighed less than, you know, only a couple ounces. That's what it was. It was something harmless. When they said, oh, this guy was attacked with something. So I just said something that I thought was about as harmless as you could think. And that's what it was. I knew it was in the shed. It was basically, at that point, it was like, if you're going to accuse me of this, and you're going to have me sit here and write this stuff, you know, you're probably going to go to my house, take some. Basically, you're going to find that I didn't do this. Of course, then they say there's a duplicate. Because how else can they explain why this thing's sitting right here, and yet, you know, it has no blood, no evidence on it of anything.
There was no blood, no evidence on the tomahawk that they found?
There's nothing on it. It had been sitting, I believe they said it had been sitting in a box with I think it was like a hose that had been sitting there that had dust on it. So it had been sitting in there for months.